Welcome to Sportsbet Daily at oddsmarket.com. We're off to Vancouver for UFC Fight Night 158. UFC brings in Jason and Dave Betts. Boys, where's me winners this week? Who's going first, Dave?
What's going on, Flash?
I'm good. Another great week for you and your mate last week.
Your winners are with us as always. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Jace, few winners again last week.
What's that?
Few winners again last week.
Yeah. Yep. We went 2 for 2. I think we swept between Dave's articles and my articles. I think we nailed the board completely. So it was a good week last week.
Okay, what type of event are we looking at here in Vancouver? Because over the last few weeks, we've had stars upon stars.
I think it's
Go on, Jace, you go.
For real fight fans, like Dave and I, will probably enjoy the card. Not from a betting perspective. There are a couple spots, but I didn't see a whole lot. I don't think Dave did either. But, you know, a lot of names that you really have to be a fan of the sport to know. But, you know, your average fan only knows the big names. So it probably won't be that enjoyable for them.
Yeah, fair comment. But if they want to watch some maybe up-and-coming stars of the future, then obviously Vancouver Saturday night, Fight Night 158. Dave, let's start off with the main event. Justin Gaethje, Donald Cerrone. Gaethje get the job done?
This is not only the main event of the card. This is the fans' main event. There's a fight coming up between Diaz and Masvidal, which is going down as the baddest mother effer fight for the baddest mother effer title. But I think this fight should be for the baddest mother effer because we have Donald Cowboy Cerrone and Justin Gaethje. Straight off the bat, one prediction we all know we're going to see from this fight more than any other prediction on the card is most likely a finish. I don't think anybody handicapping this fight, looking at this fight, has sat down and thought, right, I think Cerrone can win by decision. I think Gaethje can win by decision. That is not crossing anybody's mind. These two guys bring war every time. Cerrone was on a run. He became a father and he went on a cowboy dad run, which unfortunately came to an end when he crossed paths with one of the best fighters on the planet, Tony Ferguson. I think the turnaround for Donald Cerrone loves to take fights. Like, he'll just take fights. If Dana gives him a fight and it's big enough, he'll take it. He's going to take any fight at any time. I think that's going to go against him here. If we look back to the previous fight, he got bust up bad. He blew his nose. It was not a pretty sight at all. The turnaround, I think, has been a couple of months. I respect Donald for taking these fights, and he's became a legend because of it. And don't get me wrong, he's won plenty of these, short minute fights that he's taken. But now he's coming up against a guy who throws all of his aggression into everything he does. It's such a hard one to bet. From a betting perspective, I don't want to put my money down because although I would lean Justin Gaethje to win, at the prices we're looking at, I think he opened as minus 180, and now we're looking at, he's gone into the 200s. So it's not something that I'm willing to lay down. It's not, the price is ugly for me, but I would lean Justin Gaethje. I feel like Cerrone is not going to be able to weather the storm early. Cerrone is known as a slow starter. He doesn't find his groove within the first couple minutes, sometimes even the first round. But if we look at Justin Gaethje, he's the exact opposite. He comes out guns blazing. and he's got such power behind his strikes. I think he's gonna crowd Cerrone. He's gonna have Cerrone up against the fence. Although Gaethje would find success in his wrestling, I don't think he's gonna utilize it here because Cerrone has too many tools that will go against Gaethje if he wants to make this a wrestling fight. I think the most grappling we'll see from Justin would be some grappling up against the cage, maybe some dirty boxing where he's gonna find his strikes and he's gonna finish him. But I don't think we'll see Gaethje use his wrestling unless it goes into the later rounds. He's going to have to be avoiding knees. Donald Cerrone has got one of the most underrated ground games in the entire division. So taking this fight to the floor may seem good on the outside, but once he gets there, he's going to be fighting off submission attempts left, right, and center. Yes, it's pretty simple, this one. I feel like Gaethje is going to come out, be overly aggressive. Donald's not going to be able to weather the storm, and I think we might see a first round finish from Gaethje. Yeah, and as I said before, even though I lean that way, it's too much of a risk for me to start laying money on props. I haven't done that well on props this year. So from a betting perspective, for me, I'm not taking anything on this fight.
Jace, we're looking at Gaethje maybe winning in the first. Is that value? Is that just speculative? And do you expect him to win?
Well, Donald Cerrone's a legend for all the right reasons. He's never been a UFC champion, but he's one of the most loved fighters by the fans ever. He's just a guy, like Dave said, he's looking for a fight every single time he's in there. I think he's got the record for most wins, I think, in UFC history. He's great. He's an unbelievable volume striker who not only uses his hands effectively, he uses his legs. He doesn't have a ton of power, but his striking is really crisp. It's the volume of the punches that he throws that gives people problems. His footwork is great. He has great movement around the cage. His striking defense is slightly above average. On the ground, he's, like Dave said, underrated. He's a step under world class at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He could submit anybody from anywhere. His cardio's great, and he's just a tough dude. On the flip side, Justin Gaethje has like life-altering power in his hands. There are not many guys at 155 pounds that have the power that he does. He moves forward constantly. He walks you down. He knocks you out. He's got a good wrestling base, but we don't really see it that much. He's not that interested in taking fights to the ground. He just wants to brawl and fight in a phone booth. Who wins the fight? The fight reminds me of the Mike Perry fight with Donald Cerrone. Perry's another guy that has crazy power, does nothing but look to take your head off. He made the mistake of trying to take Cowboy down. Cerrone made him pay for it. He gets the submission victory. Gaethje won't make that mistake. I think that Gaethje's going to welcome Cowboy into the phone booth. He's going to want Cerrone to feel comfortable and let him get his strikes off. And I think that Cerrone will probably be winning this fight up until the minute he doesn't, up until the minute he gets knocked out. So I'm not going to lay Gaethje at 1.5 on the decimal. I took him by knockout because, in my opinion, there's only one way that he wins the fight. It's by knockout or he loses. So I took him at 1.87 by knockout.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think after gauging, don't forget the pun, but gauging everything that you've said, it's just a must watch. It is just one for the purist who's going to say, right, ding, ding, let war commence. And if you can get 1.87 about Gaethje, I mean, that seems quite generous. Let's move on. Let's go to the co-main event. Glover Teixeira, Nikita Krylov. Jace, take us away on that one.
Ugh. This fight, it's close to a toss-up for me. These two fighters are top 15 light heavyweights, that probably don't deserve to be, but the division's really thin right now. It's soft. On one end, you have a fighter that appears to have all the tools in Nikita Krylov. He has good footwork for a light heavyweight. He cuts the angles well. His movement in general looks pretty solid. He's a good striker for a light heavyweight. He uses all his limbs. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt that has a bunch of submission victories. But the problem is that every time the kid steps up in competition, he never gets the job done at all. And on the other side of the cage, you have an aging fighter that's been a top 5 staple at light heavyweight for the last 6 years. But the problem is he's past his prime, and that's not even debatable. He's past his prime. He's a good striker. His footwork has always been average, cuts the angle okay. He used to have great hand speed, but that's slowed down a little bit. He's a really, really solid grappler. He's always looking to take the fight to the ground if he's not going to knock you out. And he's got back-to-back submission victories in his last 2 fights. The problem is I can't trust him. I don't know why. Even though he's coming off back-to-back wins, I can't trust him. So this is how I approach the fight. Nikita Krylov has fought 31 times. No matter if he's won or if he's lost, the fight has never made it to the judges' scorecards ever. Every fight he's ever fought ends within the distance. I think both these guys are good enough to get out of the first round. So what I did was I put 1 unit on fight ends in round 2 at 3.50, and I put 1 unit on fight ends in round 3 at 6.50. I think as long as they get past the first round, we should be a winner considering what Krylov has done historically. So that's the angle that I took. That's how I approached it.
Dave, look at this. Started off the conversation with it's a toss-up. Then Krylov hasn't been the distance in 31 fights. Is the value actually against everything that we know, and it is to go the distance?
I think we'll see this fight end just like we have the other 30-odd fights that Nikita's had. I'm not really the type of person that would look at a trend and go, do you know what, I'm going to put my money on that. But how many times are you going to go against Krylov going the distance before you actually win and he goes the distance? It could be another 5-10 fights before we see him in a decision. We might never see him in a decision. If we look at Teixeira and we look at his history, he hasn't gone the distance all that much himself. His previous 2 fights he's won by submission. I think prior to that, there was only a handful of decisions. If we're talking the past 5 or 6 years, I'm pretty sure Glover's only seen a handful of decisions himself. So it doesn't look like this fight will go the full 15. In terms of sides and who I want to choose, well, I'm stuck in a bit of a place where I don't want to be. Glover, he went out of his way last week and he did a video and he said happy birthday to me. How am I gonna then the following week come on here and break down a fight for the man and tell you guys that he's gonna lose? I wouldn't do that anyway.
No.
But I don't think he'll lose. I genuinely don't think he'll lose. He's 39. He is 12 years. There's a 12-year age gap between him and Nikita. It was the same reason why everybody faded Glover in his previous 2 fights. I've saw multiple people fading Glover after his loss to Corey Anderson. Look, he lost to Corey Anderson because Corey Anderson is not a young, fresh guy himself. He knows how to fight. He's got the experience. So here we have Glover. He comes up against Carl Robertson. He beats him, submission, triangle, and then he comes up against Kutalaba, which he probably was losing. He was receiving some serious combos, but he took him. He ate him. It was like, okay, he's 39, but he's taking these punches and he's having them for lunch. So I believe if Glover weathers the early storm in this first round from Krylov and can feel him out, any sort of grappling exchange it's over for Krylov. If this fight hits the mat, you'll see Glover go for his third submission victory in a row, and I truly believe that. I think Nikita will be like a fish out of water if this fight hits the ground. And I've got to back my boy Glover all day. Yeah, I can't go any other way. I am actually going to put a bet on this. I'm going to put half a unit on Glover. Say what you will, it could be a bias for the happy birthday video, whatever.
Like that, though.
But I truly believe he's got the skills. He's fought everyone. He's fought everybody. He hasn't beat them, but he's fought them. So to get these fights, you know that Glover is a legit athlete. He's a legend in this business. He's John Jones, Anthony Rumble Johnson, Alexander Gustafsson. He's fought everybody. And guess what, guys? The only person that could finish him out of all them people was Gustafsson and Anthony Johnson. So if that's the worst on your resume, then you got a pretty good resume, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm in the Glover camp. I'm going to combine it with Jason. It's Glover in 2 or Glover in the 3rd. It seems like the way to go, gentlemen. Let's move on. Dogs and their odds. We like this. We're going to go with Sakai and Tybura. Take me away, Jace.
I did not break down that fight at all. That's all Dave, Flash.
Yeah, but I just wanted your opinion before I went to the expert.
I know, honestly, I have not had the time between all the football capping to watch fight tape on both these guys. And I don't want to lie to you and give you bad information.
No, okay. I appreciate that. Sometimes it's best to pass. It is best to pass, but the one thing I'd say to you is less sleep, more homework, more video watching.
I'm doing it 70 hours a week.
Yeah, but that's probably 20 less than you should be.
Anymore.
That's 20 less than you should be. Do you ever see me? I just live in this studio. Come on, Dave. Break this down for me.
Yeah, we got the big boys. We're seeing a lot of big boys on this card, light heavyweights and heavyweights. They're going to be flinging around about 50 stone in this ring. Augusto Sakai, what can I say? He joined the list of fighters that when we launched Odds Market, I broke down up-and-coming fighters who I believe, have a good shot of, gaining recognition and going up in the rankings and maybe finding themselves in the top 10 or top 5 and getting themselves a title shot. Augusto was one of them people, along with Wiley Zhang, who we just watched win, and Paulo Costa, who we just watched win. So now I'm looking at my heavyweight, who I'm hoping can prove me right from all these months of writing about him. He fought in Bellator, beat everyone apart from Chet Congo, who is a former UFC legend himself. He's currently riding a 4-fight win streak. There's not all that much that does separate these fighters, to be honest. I just think I like the trajectory that Sakai is on. He's winning. He's newer to the UFC than Tybura. He's doing well. He's doing well, and he's coming up against a guy who's just declining. There's not much more else I can say. Like, Sakai's just put on the better performances.
What price is he?
If we look at the past 4 fights, Tybura just hasn't looked great at all. He shows flaws in his game where Sakai's improved these flaws in his game. Wherever the fight takes place, whether it be on the floor, standing, I just think Sakai is going to have the advantage. I feel like Tybura won't want to go to the floor. He's not going to want to mix himself with Sakai's jiu-jitsu. And yeah, it's got to be Augusto Sakai for me. It's not the biggest dog in the world because, guys, this week you have to understand that these lines are real tight. And to be honest, a lot of these fights are pick'ems. They're real, coin tosses. A majority of fights, anyway, are coin tosses. You got a guy standing from the other guy, and they're trying to, put each other out. It's a risk every single time. But yeah, it has to be Augusto Sakai for this one for me.
And what price did you get?
210 Flash, plus 110, 2.10 on decimal.
Nice, proper pick'em. Proper coin toss. Doesn't sound like a coin toss to our expert Dave. Uriah Hall against Carlos Jr. Dave, fire me away.
This one is This is, do you know what? As much as I can say, there's not much to bet on this card. The breakdowns have been quite easy for me. It's been easy for me to break down the fight and understand what's going on from each side. And this is one of those fights. Look, if Uriah Hall keeps this standing, he's going to piece Antonio Carlos up with that jab. His striking is totally going to outclass him, and he's going to win by knockout, or he will outclass him on the scorecards and he'll win a decision. The only problem is he's facing Antonio Carlos Jr., who is a real good grappler and doesn't find troubles taking fights to the ground. Uriah Hall has shown multiple weaknesses when it comes to grappling. He's been mounted by Krzysztof Jotko. I've seen Uriah Hall. I've been betting on Uriah Hall now for a very long time. I've been following his career since day one, since he did his famous spinning back kick, which went viral. He's a risky fighter to bet on. Let's not beat around the bush. But like I said previously, this week there's a lot of tough fights to tough fights to bet on. There's not much value I see. But with this fight, I see value. I'm sorry, people can call me crazy. I see everybody once again on the other side, but I don't watch what people do, Flash. You know me. When everybody was back in Jessica Andrade, I was on Zhang. When everybody was on, what's his name? Romero. I was on Costa. Me and Jay were on Costa. So it's just like, yeah, you do your thing and I'll do mine. I can get Uriah Hall at 2.87 on the decimal, nearly plus 190. For a fight that he can win if it stays standing. He's fighting one of the most dangerous submission artists in the entire division. Look, Carlos could easily walk out and have this wrapped up within the first 5 minutes. He could get him done. But for as much as Uriah Hall puts himself in these dangerous predicaments, in these situations which make your heart beat if you've got money on him, he seems to get out of them a lot. As much as I can talk crap on his bad, defense and things like that, he gets out of it. And look, he was mounted in the fight with Krzysztof Jotko. He was fully mounted at one stage of the fight. And then before you know it, he's knocking him out. So I'm gonna put my chips behind Uriah Hall. It won't be. Look, don't bet on this fight if you're not ready for a bit of a sweat. That's all I'm gonna say. But I really do think he can get the job done. And this price is it's a bit crazy for me. It's way too high for me. Any fights I see, guys, really, that go close to 3, like plus 200, it's unless it's a world beater like Khabib or Amanda Nunes or someone like that, then these lines don't make no sense to me. It's a fight, and they both can fight. So I'll take Uriah Hall this week, thanks.
Well, Dave, Jace, love your work. Before I let you go, found a little slot in my schedule. Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, Jace. 9 p.m. UK time, Dave. Should we make it a freeway date?
Sounds good.
Yes, we shall.
Right, for the next 9 weeks, UFC at 4 p.m. Eastern on a Wednesday, 9 p.m. UK time. Dave, love your work. Jace, more homework. Until then, love your work.
Thank you, sir.
See you soon, boys.